The night I announced my pregnancy, my mother sighed and tossed the gift aside. "Oh great, another baby!" Her voice cut sharper than glass. My father shook his head. Candace smirked across the table. She must have gotten pregnant just for the gifts. Laughter erupted, echoing through the house I once called home. I'm Stella, 29 years old, and that night, I realized just how little my family valued me. Russell's jaw clenched. I couldn't speak. The humiliation pressed like a hand around my throat. I walked out in silence, their laughter chasing me into the night. The next morning, I woke to 24 missed calls. Each voicemail begged me to pick up, and what they told me next shattered the last illusion I had about family. Growing up, Candace sparkled, and I was the glare no one wanted. She got the bay window room, sunlight and lace. I got the small room that smelled like paint. Her wardrobe arrived in glossy bags with tissue paper. Mine was hand-me-downs that didn't quite fit. When she rolled her eyes, it was attitude. When I asked a question, it was drama. At 12, I baked Mom a birthday cake from a boxed mix. She called it clumpy and laughed with Candace at the cracked frosting. At 15, I made honor roll and left the certificate on the fridge. It disappeared under Candace's cheer photos by dinner. Senior year, my car broke down after a late shift at the diner. Dad said I should learn consequences. The next morning, Candace got new tires for safety. I learned to work, to stay quiet, to disappear first. Attention was currency I could never afford. Have you ever been the difficult one, no matter what you did? Tell me in the comments if that label ever stuck to you. College was my exit plan. I left with 2 suitcases, 3 scholarships, and 0 fanfare. Candace's engagement party got a tent, a heater, a rented violinist. My wedding got squeezed between her promotion dinner and a storm front. Mom said she was sorry they missed our vows. Traffic, you know. I knew. At holidays, Candace handed out framed photos and inside jokes. I brought pies I baked at midnight after grading papers. They called me try-hard with a smile. I stopped arguing and kept records instead. Dates. Phrases. The way love tilted whenever Candace entered a room. When she announced she was trying for a baby, the house caught fire with joy. Nursery Pinterest boards. Name lists. Grandparent mugs showing up in their cupboard. I told myself history didn't have to repeat. I told myself I wouldn't beg for anyone's excitement. I told myself pregnancy would earn me a seat at the table. Not a throne. Just a seat. I should have known better. Favoritism doesn't age out. It just changes costumes. I still wrapped hope in a small white box for my parents. World's best grandparents in tiny black letters. My hands trembled when I tied the bow. I believed a new life could soften old patterns. I believed family could choose different. Finally. I believed my baby would change the rules. Until the night they proved the rules were the point. Candace's pregnancy turned my parents into full-time planners. Pinterest boards became shopping lists. Receipts drifted like confetti. A crib like a yacht. A stroller worth a month's rent. They booked Hawaii like it was medicine. Dad called it an investment in joy. Mom called it finally getting the grandchild she deserved. I stayed useful, holding coats, stacking boxes, smiling for pictures. At home, Russell watched me measure silence. He asked if I was okay. I said I was fine. Then the test turned positive. 2 lines bright as sunrise. Hope loosened something clenched. I planned our announcement with careful hands. A tiny onesie. World's best grandparents. In clean black letters. You know how that went. The sigh. The smirk. Laughter chasing me to the car. I cried on the drive home. Russell's knuckles went white. Neither of us trusted our voices. Morning brought 24 missed calls. Please pick up. Fear outran pride. I called back. Mom answered on the first ring. Come now, she said. Candace is in trouble. I walked into their kitchen. Not their courtroom. Already seated like a jury. Gordon had cheated, they said. For months. He'd drained accounts. He'd filed for divorce. Candace stared at the table, pale as paper. Pity arrived before anything else. Then came the pivot. We spent over $15,000, Dad said, counting air. The nursery. The shower. Hawaii. Mom leaned forward, voice like gauze. Maybe you and Russell can bridge the gap. Family helps family. I waited for the apology that never came. For anyone to say last night was cruel. Instead, Mom slid a bright idea across the table. Take some of the baby things we bought for Candace, she said, and help with expenses while she gets back on her feet. There it was. Favoritism in pencil. Erase me on Sunday. Add me back on Monday. I looked at Candace. She finally met my eyes. No apology. Only entitlement wearing panic. My ribs ached. I thought of Russell in the doorway. I thought of our baby, still a heartbeat and a promise. I need time to think, I said. Dad frowned. Family doesn't need time, he said. Family shows up. I stood anyway. Because I had for years, and it had eaten me hollow. In the car, Russell didn't start the engine. He held my hand until the shaking slowed. We counted what we owed ourselves, and what we no longer owed anyone else. Something inside me finally snapped, and this time it snapped in my favor. That night I didn't list baby names. I listed boundaries. Morning, I asked them to gather. Same room, same table, different spine. I've considered your request, I said. I'm not funding Candace, and I'm going no contact. The room detonated. Ridiculous, Dad barked. Mom shook. We're family. For years you fed one daughter and starved the other, I said. Last night you turned my pregnancy into a punchline. That ends here. I set sealed letters on the table. Why I'm done, what must change? Don't call me. Don't show up. You won't be notified when my child is born. Candace whispered. I was joking. No, I said. You were honest. Aunt Carol stood. She's right, she said. Yesterday was cruel. I left lighter, not free. The bill came due next day. In the grocery aisle, Mom performed grief for strangers. Please, Stella, she wailed. Shame rose hot. The baby fluttered. At my appointment, Dr. Singh named it. Flying monkeys, abusers recruiting others to harass. Document everything, consider a restraining order. So we did. Screenshots, dates, a car idling outside our house. Then a knock. Russell checked the peephole. It's Gordon. He looked wrecked, cheeks hollow, hands unsteady. I don't want your drama, I said. Please hear me out, he answered. He perched on the couch's edge. Last year, during a fight, Candace stayed at your parents'. I went to pick her up and overheard a conversation. Your mother didn't know I was there. My chest tightened. What did you hear? Why your parents favor Candace, he said. Why they treat you different. I braced for a lecture about attitude. Instead, he exhaled the sentence that rearranged my childhood. You're not your father's biological daughter. The room tilted. Your mom had an affair, he continued. Your dad learned it when you were a toddler. They stayed. But he never looked at you the same. Your mom overcompensated by making Candace the son. Candace has known for years. Suddenly, the map of my life made sense. The clumpy cake, the vanished certificate. Difficult, no matter how careful I was. Obsolete questions crowded my mouth. Why wasn't I told? How did I end up carrying the blame? Gordon swallowed. There's more, he said, lifting his phone. She's done things that will hurt you if you don't protect yourself. Russell's hand found mine. The baby kicked hard, an alarm in my ribs. And Gordon hadn't even reached the worst part. Gordon pressed play. Candace's voice spilled out, bright and cruel. She actually thinks Mom and Dad will treat her like me. She's not even Dad's real daughter. I'll make sure she's cut off. And those gifts? I can flip them for cash. My stomach iced over. Russell held the phone like it might bite. There's more, Gordon said. She miscarried 3 weeks ago. She's been faking the pregnancy for sympathy. She plans to blame your drama for the loss. The room went still except for the fridge hum. For once, my silence wasn't surrender. It was aim. We called our attorney. We called Aunt Carol. 2 days later, Gordon went to my parents with proof. Recordings. Bank traces. Their faces collapsed by degrees. They begged to meet. I agreed. Public place, with Russell and Aunt Carol. I set transcripts on the table. I'm not here to fight, I said. I'm here to end this clean. Gordon recapped slow and plain. Mom clutched her chest. Candace is sick, she said. She didn't mean it. She meant it, I said. She planned it. Dad's voice fell to that old warning register. We can fix this as a family. You don't fix rot with paint, I said. You cut it away. We filed. Screenshots and logs became a spine of paper. Russell's boss wrote about the parking lot scene. Dr. Singh wrote about stress and blood pressure. In court, my parents wore black like grief had a dress code. The judge listened without blinking. Love doesn't include stalking, she said evenly. Or workplace disruption. Or recruiting others to harass a pregnant woman. Order granted. 6 months, no contact. 500 feet from home, work, and clinic. Outside, Mom hissed, "You'll regret this." I thought of all the times I needed them and found air. Aunt Carol squeezed my shoulder. Breathe, she said. You did the hard thing. That night, the house felt wider. The crib corner looked less like a question. Then fallout sped up. Relatives switched sides hourly. Apologies trailed behind reputation. At 2 a.m., Dad left a small-voiced voicemail. We didn't know. We were wrong. He didn't say the part that mattered. They chose not to know. Russell held me while the adrenaline burned off. I slept without dreams for the first time in months. In the quiet after, a decision settled. No chaos at my child's first breath. I would build a gate and I would be the key, and in the morning, a package arrived with a note that forced my final choice. The package held a velvet blanket and a note. Let us in. I held it a long minute. Then I packed it for the women's shelter. Kindness doesn't require access. It requires boundaries. 3 weeks later, labor started at dawn. Lily Rose arrived pink and furious at the light. Russell cried first. I laughed through tears that tasted like relief. Gifts kept coming. Monitors, a bassinet, envelopes of apologies. Each box carried a price tag I wouldn't pay. We donated every one. I kept the cards as a record of what not to forget. Aunt Carol rocked Lily and whispered, "You're wanted. Every inch of you." She told me about my biological father. Good hands, easy laugh, gone too soon. My chest ached for a ghost I never knew. It also loosened the last knot of confusion in me. Forgiveness came slowly, like weather changing. It wasn't a door for them to walk through. It was a window I opened for myself so I could breathe. My parents tested the order's edges, then backed away. Candace entered treatment and mailed a letter in careful, contrite lines. I didn't write back. Some distances are merciful. At night, I learned Lily's sounds by heart. The hungry snuffle, the startled squeak, the sigh that meant she felt safe. I mailed one last envelope of my own. Not to them, to my future. Inside, a list titled, "What My Children Will Always Know." You are wanted. You are celebrated. Your needs don't threaten anyone else's. Love is not a competition. Respect is the house rule. I slipped a single brass key into the envelope too. Not theirs. Mine. The key to our front door. Copied and labeled family. It reminds me every morning who gets to enter. If you've had to choose peace over permission, I see you. Have you ever walked away from toxic family to protect your child? Tell me in the comments. Your story might help someone breathe again. Hit subscribe for more stories about truth, trauma, and taking your life back. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't getting even. It's building a life so full that their approval goes out of style. I didn't win my family back. I won myself, and that was everything.